Welcome back to the Lights at Full podcast. I am Brian Smith out of Boston, Massachusetts. With me, again, my co-host Brent Schmidt. And today we are talking about uplights and the fact that we can do more than just shoot them straight up the wall and make every room look like it's a tiger exhibit at the zoo. And leads us to something new that we're going to do with this episode. And so this is the first one where we air our rant sequence. I'm going to kick it off to Brent first.
Today's rant from me is, good God, DJs, stop putting your frickin' lights on the same channel and them doing sound active or auto program and all of them chasing around. Listen, you have to think about it from the sociologies, the human factor of guests that are in attendance at these weddings. They might be younger, they might be older, and if you have like this obnoxious lighting chase going around the room, especially if you are in a very dark space and that's the only like area light in that venue, people are going to leave, and they're going to leave the dance floor. They're going to leave the reception. Stop. Like, good God. Like, can we just keep it at the same color, at a static color, if you're going to do that stuff? Like, do that, or do slow fade. Like, just, oh my God, Brian, like, anything is better than all one channel doing the same effing thing. Guys, come on. Do better. Get it off one channel. Stop using your remotes. There's consoles out there. There's the ILS command. There's the Wolf Mix. There's Show Express. There's Sound Switch. There's, oh my God, something. Please, for the love of God, Brian, take this over before I like drop kick my computer.
You know, I mean, I would love to have a different subject to rant on, but I'm pretty much in the same boat on this one. I mean, like, they have channels for a freaking reason.
Yes.
Look at me. I'm taking a page out of your book and not swearing. They have channels for a fucking reason.
Yes.
Like, use them. But like, not only like use them, but like, this is where I'll go bring it up to another step. Like, use them thoughtfully. Like, all of your lights shouldn't be like doing the same thing at the same time.
Wait,
like,
what do you say? Same time? What?
Same time. I know, right? And like, they shouldn't all be blinky flashy at the same time. Like, my God, like, I've walked into rooms where like, even when they're using a Show Express or Wolf Mix or Sound Switch, it's like you walk in and the uplights are flashing at the same time as every other light in the room, moving heads, pixel tubes, whatever, and it's all just doing the same thing. Like, your uplights, and like, if you have dance floor lighting, your uplights are not your dance floor lighting. Your uplights are your ambience lighting. They're your little like flavor. They're the lights that they should only really start doing some crazy stuff when you are at that like peak hour like EDM set and you want the whole room going crazy. Otherwise,
Yes.
Leave them the fuck alone. Like,
yes,
let them change colors here and there. Let them do like soft color fades throughout the rooms, little color chases throughout the rooms, but like, leave them alone. They are not your dance floor lights. Like, unless they're the only lights you got, they're not your dance floor lights. Stop treating them like dance floor lights.
and I think that
it's so obvious.
Yes, and I see it here locally, and I see it all over nationally on social media. It's like, guys, come on.
Seen it at conferences.
Let's not get on that other subject topic. Like, we honestly, as a industry, need to do better, because what always the conversation that I have with couples and even wedding planners is, are the uplights gonna do like that crazy stuff later on in the night? It's like, no, what they're going to do, and I always have to explain this and show videos of how I personally do it and what Brian personally does with the uplights, is color fades and stuff that makes sense when it makes sense, when it calls for it. Like what Brian said, later on in the night with the EDM set, if you're doing an EDM set, then make that atmosphere pop. But
for like the drop.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, like, leave them alone. It makes a difference when they're going all crazy. But then if people are sitting there for hours on end after dinner, they're going to be like, this is too much. And they're going to get eye fatigue, and they're just going to be like, we need to leave. Like, honey, Jerry, let's go. Like, I need to go home. Like, this is just too much for me. Like, go home. Like, sorry for the voice. Like, it's just like, you got to think of it that way as well. Like, put your ego aside. Think about this. Like, you have to think about the guests that are in attendance.
And like, we have all done the weddings where there are like way too many activities when dancing's going on. The most basic one, like, is always the concern, is that the bar is outside of the room where the dancing is. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. But if there's a bar inside the room and a bar outside the room, you can bet your ass they're going to the bar outside the room, and then they're getting distracted and they're not coming in. If they have goddamn fucking lawn games or like whatever, like giant Jenga or cornhole outside, like, they're gonna go out and do that. Like the s'mores fire pit, they're gonna go out and do that, and then they're not gonna come back because your lighting drove them absolutely insane, and they left the dance floor and they left the party, and you did a disservice to your couple. It's like the classic wedding DJ marketing trope. Like, yeah, pack your dance floor. The dance floor is packed all night. Like, yeah, no shit. Every DJ is going to say that because, like, that's what we're supposed to do. But, like, you're not going to have a packed dance floor when you drive people away because of the fact that, like, you haven't taken the hour or two out of your day to learn how to maybe just use your uplights a little bit differently. And I think that is definitely one of the problems that we want to solve on today's episode. Simple things that you can do to not drive your guests out of the room with your uplights.
Yep. And that one first topic right off the bat, what Brian said is take them off one channel mode, being like, not all the same thing. Like, expand, have 512 DMX addresses that you have in that one universe. Use it. Even if you do, like, and I'm not saying one or two, like, one or two is, I think, not, it still doesn't cut it. Even three, in my opinion. You need to go 4 or more.
Yes.
4 groups of, 1, 8, 16, 21, 24, whatever your fixtures do, but expand, like, because you could do some really cool color chases when you use the full universe of DMX. So if you got 20 uplights, I would say address all 20 of them, and you could do especially like if you wanted to do a rainbow effect, it looks sick going across the room, and then it's doing that color chase. It looks amazing.
Yep.
So
for the wedding DJ, the average wedding DJ, your average wedding, this is what I tell people when I've helped people with getting up their sound switch setup or whatever. Just start with 4. Have your uplights in addresses and 4s, because most of us are buying cases of uplights that are easily divisible that way. And that way, it's easy enough to lay out. It's easy enough to put out. I mean, for me, what I do is I take a label maker and I literally label each uplight with a number, but I also put its channel mode and its DMX channel on. Because, like, sometimes you might have to change a channel because the way you're orienting your uplights, like, just you need an extra uplight number 4 or whatever. But that way, you know where they go, and you don't have to, like, necessarily, like, make sure you look at the screen to see what the address is and then figure out, like, you just pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 and you just start walking them around the room, or your assistant starts walking them around the room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And, like, it's such a simple, small thing to do. Like, if you stopped listening to this episode at this point now and just implemented this, like, you'd be light years ahead of, unfortunately, a lot of DJs. So simple. I mean, but as Brent said, like, if you are in a situation where you can do more, doing 6 channels, doing 8 channels, doing 12 channels. I mean, I think I did one once. Actually, I did one once with our buddy Lauren Miller, who we have, again, said we'll have on the show. But we were down in Florida doing an event, and, like, I set up a one wall where I think I had 12 or 16 different addresses for my uplights. And this was directly behind a band and a DJ who may also be on this show at some point. And we were able to do really cool, smooth color chases because of that. Especially if you're not running big pixel tubes and big movers, like, take full advantage of what you have available to you. Like, take advantage of the channels. They're there for a reason. Use them. And even if you are using those movers, if you're on a Wolf mix, it's $100 to get a second universe added, I think, if you don't already have a second universe. Sound switch ships with 2 universes already. Like, it's not hard to do this. And that way you're just gonna have a much better presentation on it.
Yeah. No excuses.
Yes. Like, stop. Yeah. They shouldn't all be on one channel unless you're only doing one color for the entire night. And that's just staying that color. It's the only reason why you should ever be that way.
Throw your remote out, and instead of, sound, let's go. No. Throw that out. Like, come on, do better. Get a lighting console program, something, or just keep them static the whole time. That's fine. Like, you're doing way better. You're three steps ahead than trying to do all that bullshit. Come on.
I mean, I've got some older Chauvet wedge par, whatever. I don't even remember what they're actually called. And they don't have DeFi in them. They don't have Chinese wireless DMX protocol in them. I still use them because like there are spots like I may want to use an uplight and I don't want it to change all night. I want it to stay one color. And I use those for that purpose. And it's perfectly fine to do that. But just like, yeah.
Well, Brian, you kind of segued us into our like a next point here is symmetry. And I think that's probably the second biggest issue that I see with people. And the thought is not there. It's like, again, do better, spread everything out evenly. And if it personally, for me, stop charging, and I don't even think we even had this up as a conversation point, but like stop charging for per fixture of an uplight, because your clients don't know how many uplights they need for the space. Either do full ballroom color coverage or include it in your price like Brian does. For me specifically, I charge a one fee that does full ballroom coverage. I don't care if I'm in a small place or a very large place. I'm going to bring enough that is going to fulfill the job and have symmetry throughout the whole space. That is the key there.
Yeah, and like if you're in a venue like that's a pretty small venue, like you could have different tiers of what you're charging for this one flat rate, but like you don't need to say, oh, this is for X amount of lights. Like, oh, like for this room, this is what it costs for us to upplate the room. That's all you need to say. Like you don't need to have it as like an option on your a la carte menu or anything like that. It's just like, nope, uplighting for this space costs X amount because this room holds 80 people. Uplighting for this room is X amount because it holds 300 people. So you know you're going to need so many more fixtures. Like just know that. Know your numbers, know your venues, like just know what you need to do places. Like, and then, you know, you may be showing up to a room that you've never performed in before. So you don't necessarily know what you need. I do that a lot because I travel all over New England. And sometimes I'm in venues that I've been in before. Sometimes I'm in venues that I've gotten to do a site visit for, and sometimes I'm in venues that I don't get to do a site visit for. And I think that like brings us to the next thing is like bring enough to be prepared, bring enough to know the job, but like also like understanding like how to put your uplights out, the symmetry of the room, knowing what you're going to need, how you're going to need it, and where you should put them. There's definitely times where I walk into rooms and the lights are like not balanced well. It's just like, they're not like, there's more lights on one side, on one wall than there are in another. And like, sometimes you're in rooms that walls have different features and or different surfaces. You can't completely keep it equal, but you have to be thoughtful about it. So I think the technique that I do whenever I walk into a room that I haven't been in before, and even rooms that I have been in before, is I walk in and I look and I like how many lights I'm going to need to do that room, and then come up with a plan as to how I'm going to place them. There are some rooms that I've been in before that I know exactly how we're going to place lights and where we're going to put them and what channel they're going to be. And then sometimes I even have that drawn out so I can just hand it to my assistant and be like, here you go. Here's the lights. Here are the channels. This is where they go. But, you know, I think symmetry is like one of those things that's just like, why did you put that light there? And I think that also falls into the, oh, well, I sold my client 16 uplights, so they need 16 uplights. But like, really, your room only needs 15. So just don't put that 16th out because now you look like shit. One light just made your entire room look like shit.
Yeah. And stemming across or expanding on symmetry, a couple key places that I would say to help start your placement journey is highlight your main entrances. So if all the guests are coming into this one ballroom door or even 2 or 3 of the ballroom doors, left and right of the door, you know, so that not only as symmetry as it makes sense, but also to like think of it a step further, actually like 4 steps further of like, if you have battery powered lights, what if, God forbid, the power goes out? The uplights are still there. Now, granted, there's going to be maybe some emergency lights that pop on, but like now guests know this is the entrance right here. Or if you're just putting it around on a plain wall, that doesn't really do anything in that sense, where if you're highlighting those entrances, not only, again, it makes sense, symmetry, but 4 steps further, it's also like a safety thing on that aspect. Again, something that we all don't think about on the 1, 2, 300 level, but advanced thinking right there, like that's just another thing that you can kind of help push your clients. Well, this is more on you. And then the second place is if you're on a stage with some nice, very beautiful proscenium arch, which if you're not from the theater world, that's pretty much the border around the stage. Highlight that. Like that's a really cool, and I'm not like saying to boost your ego or anything like that. Like that is an architectural like masterpiece right there. Like
And the inside
that.
edge.
And the inside edge, yes.
Not the outside, the inside of it.
Right, right. And use one or two of them. Like you should be doing 2 of them per side, left and right.
And you can even do that with windows too. When you have like
yes,
windows, like that is one of my definite go-to like tricks as well.
Yep. And try to really bring things together. So if you see like a brick wall, like you want to highlight that because brick walls with some uplights look sexy. Like, oh my gosh. Like I absolutely love when they are on a brick wall because it just gives some of that architectural.
And if I'm going to throw balance and symmetry off in a room, that's when I'm going to do it. Is when you have that brick wall or any kind of like wall that has a cool texture to it that the rest of the room doesn't have. If I'm going to throw off my symmetry, because like none of these are hard and fast rules. Like this is art. You learn the rules so that you can break them, right? And this is where you break the rules.
Yep.
But you do, again, you want to, if you're going to break symmetry, if you're going to break rules, you want to do so thoughtfully and with a reason. Brent kind of hit on the exits, the other like anchor point, and this may be obvious to some people, but I've seen some people who don't do this, so maybe it's not, is the corners. Like the corners of every room are going to be your anchor points, and they're useful to you as well. In the sound kind of portion of being a DJ, like I know this isn't necessarily common knowledge with everyone, but like one of the things that you do is like if you put your subs up against the wall, like you're going to increase the resonance of the subs. You're going to get more volume out of them. If you put them in a corner, you're getting even more volume. Like putting lights into a corner, you're going to reflect more light into the room. That is definitely helpful. And also is one of those things that when you're trying to get that venue to really shut off all the lights in the room, like when you can show them that, hey, like with my uplighting, there is enough light in this room for safety to keep everyone able to see where they're going and what they need to see. Like that's one of those things. It's like, do that. I've definitely seen, like, I've been into places. I'm like, why isn't there an uplight in the corners? Why would you do that?
Yeah. Brian, kind of going off topic for a hot second. If I gave you, I'm going to give you a couple scenarios and I'm probably going to agree with you on this, but if I gave you 4 uplights, okay, for a reception, where are you putting those 4 uplights? In the corners?
Ooh.
You just got 4 uplights. So like if a DJ out there, like just invested in
no other
4,
lights whatsoever.
Well, you'll have dance floor lights too, but like you have 4 uplights. You're paid for 4 or to do uplights. 4. Where are you putting 4 of them?
I actually have 2 answers. And it depends on depends on what the setup and the layout of the room would be, and what other lighting is going on in the room with the ambient house lighting. 1, the corners. I'm definitely I'll hit the corners.
Okay.
But if we're in a situation where the room is segmented, the house lighting is segmented, and we can dim like the lighting over and around the dance floor, I'm going to put 2 on either side of me and 2 on the other side of the dance floor to bring your attention into where the dance floor is. Even more.
Okay. Now, if I give you, let's say, 8 fixtures, where are you putting those?
Split between what I just said.
Okay. What about 20? I'm just thinking scenarios of like, if a DJ has just 20 uplights or 4 uplights or 8, like where, from an expert, where would you put those from there? 20 is a little bit more because of your quantity of building. So a standard basic square rectangle ballroom at the Hilton, downtown of your city, where are you putting 20?
So my anchor points are going to be kind of what we've discussed already. I'm going to highlight the entrances and the exits. I am going to hit the corners. If there's windows in the room, I may highlight the windows. I may not highlight the windows depending on how bright the light is that's coming in from outside, how many windows we have. I'm also going to, again, maybe accentuate behind the DJ booth and behind the sweetheart table or the head table. The other place that I will often put lights to accentuate, especially if I really want them to turn off all of the lights in the ballroom, is I will light either side of the bar, or I will light 2 on either side of the bar and 1 directly behind it, because that's another focal point. That's where another spot that people are going to go. And if I can provide additional light for the bartenders, that allows me to really turn off the overhead lights, but still allow them to work, then that is, that's always that's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we all know that the bar drives the dance floor.
100%. Now, I mentioned earlier about brick walls and how they're sexy to always light, but sometimes some bricks and some other wall elements can change colors, can change our uplight colors when it not on in the actual fixture, but it being not plastered, but being projected on the wall. Can you kind of talk a little bit about some maybe different, architecture differences that are out there that you've run into from past events, or some kind of tips and tricks on how you kind of get around that?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big thing to think about. We have to remember that like really all color is, and especially even when we're looking at some like is how light reflects off of things, right? Like
Hmm.
this isn't actually a black shirt, but because of the way that light reflects, like it appears black. Like, you know, my mouse is white because of the way the light reflects. Like the actual physical properties of this do not necessarily have color in them. Like it's just it's super ethereal sciencey stuff.
Hmm.
But like it's important to think about that. You don't necessarily need to understand that, but you do need to understand that what we see in our eyes is a mix of the reflection of the light off of surfaces. So say you have like a great warm candlelight color that you love to use, it's your go-to color. You walk into a venue that is gorgeous, but it's got these like not even like cream walls. It's got this like almost like light sandy color walls, which like we have a few venues around me in Massachusetts that are like beachside venues that have this. It's like almost this like sandy color. And then like that has probably just shifted the color of your candlelight to a color you don't want. It may shift it a little bit greener. It may make it way warmer than you want it to be. And then you're like, oh, this is not like, I didn't put these to amber. Why does it look amber? It's because the color of the wall. So like this is one of those times where, having not just doing this off of the remote, but like having your lights tied into a lighting controller of some sort so you can tweak your colors to like bring it back into line with what you want it to look like. If you're in a historic venue that has dark wood walls, like your uplights are not going to be as bright as you think they're going to be because that's going to absorb light. It's not going to reflect it as well, and it's going to shift the color because it's this dark mahogany wood or whatever it is. It's going to change the color. It's going to change the way the light reacts in the room. So it's no, you need to know that sometimes your light is not going to do what you think it's going to do, and you need to the you don't need to, but the next level of like elevating your game is knowing when you're going to be in that situation when you walk into a room, and then knowing how to try to your best with the resources that you have, adapt it to get the result that you really want to have and your clients and couples expect.
Yeah. Like the color of my office behind me, if I were to put like a blue on top of that navy blue or a red, that color is going to absorb a lot and the intensity is going to change, but also too, like the impact of it is going to change. Just like if you're working with a wedding planner, they're going to have a contrasting color. So they'll have somewhat of a darker tone color, but then it will also be mixed with a warmer or a brighter color. Just like with music, like you have a major and you have a minor, and then you have God, I should know this being a music somewhat major, you have those complementary keys and notes that complement each other. So just like with that, colors have the same thing. So like you're never going to be put in a situation. If you are put in that situation, then you need to respectfully just leave that event or like not do that event personally, because there should be a warmer tone that instead of, if they're like, oh, we want red uplights, well, it's going to get absorbed quickly. Or blue, whatever. But if they're like, oh, we have white or candle, whatever, like that is where you're going to want to push them to go to instead of the darker colors. Just
Unless you're doing
sign
like
off
a
of what.
Valentine's theme event or something.
Right, exactly. And like the one I just did this past weekend, and again, we're batching this, so this was just happened we're batching right after Valentine's Day. The event, yeah, was all red because it was, heart and love and whatever, but we also added gold into the uplight colors and to the other textures because it was just too much red when they did the event the year before. So it was like adding that complementary color to it to kind of help expand it and even brighten up the space. And then also too, brightening up the space with the amber gold color brought out more of the red, and it kind of just made it more punchy. So again, this is not just like two guys on a podcast talking about lights. Like we're actually talking about like physical science put to the test and shown that if you have a lighter color, the darker color is going to pop a little bit, even probably more.
Color theory, complementary
Yes.
colors. Again, this is another one that we're going to talk about in the future. But like, actually, even Brent's example about this Valentine's Day event, which I have not seen pictures of it. I don't know anything about it, but just from what he said, like, and what we've already discussed, like hotel ballroom you're doing lots of red, where are you putting your amber uplights? It's probably in the places that we've already talked about.
Yep.
Your plain walls are going to get, at least in my book, your plain walls are going to get the red, but those doorways are going to get the amber. Around the bar is going to get the amber. Like spots in the room that you want to highlight are going to be that contrasting color.
Yep, 100%. And that kind of leads us to our next point is knowing what your lights can and can't do. Specifically your uplights. And this is kind of, I guess, more, we're breaking down more into the physical fixture. So if you have RGB uplights, well, yes, you could potentially mix to get a gold or an amber, but you're not going to get that true amber color. Or UV. Let's break apples to oranges here.
Meanwhile,
UV,
you're never going to get real UV with most uplights, but that's another subject for another time.
Right. So knowing what you can and can't do in your toolbox is very important, and not being that like, what is it, overpromise and underdeliver person. And, either the wedding planner is going to be pissed at you or the client's going to be pissed at you because you're like, oh yeah, I can make amber, and you can't even get close to it. Like it looks like the luck of the Irish type. Like it doesn't work.
Greenish yellow. That's just,
yeah. So with that, if you were to invest in uplights today, I personally would recommend RGB A or W or both of them with the ability to have the color temperature. And that's technically what its definition, right, Brian? Where you have the 27 or 32K Kelvin. And what we're talking about here is the lower the number, which 27K is like that Edison bulb type feel.
Your old school light bulb.
All school light bulb like that, all the way up to like 6 to 6,500K. And that's kind of more of like the net, like right now I'm getting a lot of that cool light coming into my studio, where Brian actually, this is a perfect example. Brian is more on a warmer tone than what I am right now. I'm getting more of that cool tone coming from the sun, and the sun is more of that, granted it's not actually 65K, but it's that cooler tone versus Brian is a little bit more lighter in that. So if that is not important to you, which if you're listening to the podcast, I hope it's something that is very important for you because you want to level up.
Or will become important to you.
Become important. Yes. I think that is a really big thing when it comes to price shopping and finding the right uplights for you. For myself, and I know Brian will speak on this here in a second, I have the Chauvet Freedom 9, the new ones that came out, which they're a little bit smaller, but they have those color temperatures, and also the Astera AX5s because of their flexibility, but also too that they can do that color warming. So Brian, do you want to expand on that and maybe even give the listeners a little in depth of what you have in your inventory and maybe why you chose them?
Yeah. So, when it comes to color temperature, yes, it's definitely important. In our previous episode on Chinese versus name brand lights, most of my uplights are Chinese factory direct lights, and they haven't quite gotten there yet on having color temperature that you can dial in. There are some of those brands and manufacturers that it's starting to come out in some of their lights, so it is coming. I would bet we would see this by the end of 2026, that the next slew of uplights coming from these manufacturers are going to start to build that in if they haven't already. But again, that's why it becomes very important to make sure that, like, if you are buying something that you are going to use as an uplight, and really, I think any LED par light that you buy at this point really should be the RGB, amber, W, amber, white, UV. You should have hex LEDs in your wash lights. Because even if you can't do the dial of the temperature in, if you're on a wolf mix, you can mix the amber and white to get that candlelight color. And like now when I'm in that situation where I need to tweak it, literally all I have to do is like, all right, I need a little bit more white, or I need a little bit more amber, and I'm done. And it takes me 30 seconds to do it, and I'm all set. And one of the things that, again, I think it's definitely starting to come out in some of the DJ lights. I know ADJ has them. I don't know if Chauvet has pulled it from Pro line to DJ line yet, but you're going to start seeing lime LEDs replacing one of the traditional extra amber W UVs. And it seems counterintuitive to add another green LED, but lime is actually a color that really helps you dial in clean whites in cold or warm. And so you're going to see that a lot more. So don't be surprised if you see something that has a lime LED, but also has your color temperature dial in, because that's what that LED is for. It's counterintuitive. We can get into the dorky science about it later. But that's definitely something that's coming.
And that's something that's stemming from the theater world, because that's very important in theater, because color temperature that is like the mega of all megas. Like that's everything there. So fixtures that are coming out with that line is super clutch for.
And your photographers and videographers will love you if you can have consistent color temperature across all of your lights. Like
Yes.
you will get referrals. You will get
Yes.
referrals once you know how to do that.
Yep. Those acronyms of RGB like actually mean something. The more letters and options that you have there is just going to help you thrive and be on those photographer or videographers referral lists, because you've hooked them up with the right color temperature that they want. Because when I do weddings with my, tubes or wash lights, whatever, I'm asking them, hey, what color temperature do you want? And they're like, wait, why did you just ask me color temperature? Like, you're a DJ. How do you? And I'm like, I want to make sure that you are set up for success, and or plus two, you don't have to set up that freaking lights that is going to be on for the rest of the night during dancing. So yeah, that's kind of our little ramble of going a step further if you're going to invest. But Brian's got a secret weapon, and it involves physically on the fixture to kind of help get you the correct spread of lights on the wall. So Brian, show us some magic.
My little hack. It's something that in the theater world, they definitely know it. In production world, they know it. If you've been around lighting long enough, you know that the way that lighting used to be changed, the colors used to be changed before we had LEDs, was with using gels. So a gel, actually, I have one right here too. Looks like this. So like this is to warm up a pin spot. So it's just a piece of plastic that's just tinted, and that's it. One of the things that has come out, and it's by one of the big manufacturers, Roscoe. Is it Roscoe? I think it's Roscoe.
Yeah, Roscoe.
I hope it's Roscoe.
Yeah.
Is OptiSculpt. So this is a piece of OptiSculpt. It's very small. Yes, this is not the kind of piece that will like go onto an uplight. And I know this is not going to translate well over video, but it's got ridges on it. And OptiSculpt is really cool because it comes in a couple of varieties. One is kind of like a general frost kind of filter where it can change the angle of the beam of light coming out of the fixture. So one of the ones that I have that I really like is a 20-degree shape of the beam. So most of like the uplights, like they come somewhere between like a 15-degree beam, and like that's like literally what it looks like when you shoot it straight up against the wall and how wide it spreads. I've taken the 20-degree stuff, and on my IR4 uplights, I literally took the plastic lens, the protective cover, off and put in 20-degree OptiSculpt underneath it and put it back on. And one thing that has done is it made my uplights look way smoother when I'm shooting them up the wall. It has taken away some of like the color ghosting and artifacting that you get sometimes around the edges, like right at the base of the beam when you put them up against a wall. And it's just made such a cleaner look to my beams. This is not without a trade-off. One of the trade-offs is you are going to lose a little bit of brightness. Anytime you're putting something on it, you're gonna lose brightness. But for most people, like unless you're in somewhere that's gonna have 30-foot ceilings, like you're probably going to be okay in most situations. I mean, I've definitely used it in rooms that have 18 to 22-foot ceilings, and like, yeah, you lose a little bit more than you want to lose, but it's still usable. But the 20-degree is not the only thing that it does. So if you have these long expanses of clear walls that you want to have a nice smooth light over, and you don't want to have the tiger stripe look, bringing back my props, it's hard to get that with something like this. That's why like you see people buying like the bar style uplights, but OptiSculpt has a solution to that, and it can do 10 degrees by 20 degrees by 30 degrees by 60 degrees. So it literally shapes your round uplight beam into a linear beam of light. And man, that stuff lives in my kit. It comes with me to every event. I put that, is it Frank's Red Hot, right? I put that shit on everything, right? Like I use it all the time, and it just smooths out your uplights. It makes everything just like, and makes them blend together better. So like if you are doing color fades and color chases, like it literally helps the light blend during the chase and just smooths everything out. And you don't get that tiger stripe look that, I see in, 90% of DJs' pictures and videos of their uplighting. So shout out, we are not sponsored, although if they want to, I would love it. I'm going to shout out, Ben Stowe and Kat and everyone at NLFX. They carry OptiSculpt. You can get it from them. You can either get a full sheet or a half sheet. I think the full sheet is like $80 for a sheet, but like you can get like, I think I've gotten at least a dozen uplights, if not more, out of one full sheet. When you cut it down, and you just stick it on the top of the uplight. Like for my knockoff Freedom Pars, I'll just stick it right on the top, and I usually just bend the handle down over it, or I'll even just take a clear piece of Scotch tape just to hold it in place and keep it there. And this is like, for a couple $100, you can build yourself a whole kit of this stuff, and it's reusable. It doesn't burn out. It doesn't melt. You just gotta make sure you don't lose them.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool piece of a very cheap material to have in your toolkit to make your uplighting look way different than anyone else's uplighting.
Yeah. I will preface to say that what Brian is doing, it sounds like DIY or cheap to do, but like it is actually like the simplest thing in your lighting toolbox that you can get. Like just like a magician, like they have the false thumb. Whoops. They have a false thumb, but like you can do so much with it to enhance the effects. However you're going to want to do it, with a pin spot, with an uplight, shoot, maybe even with a wash light. Like there's just so much you can do with it. So like,
and I cut it to use on my pin spots.
Yeah,
actually, this weird square, I believe I cut this to use on my Chauvet H1s. Like,
yeah,
that's it. Anything that's an LED, you can use that on, with the exception of like movers. That's like the only thing I wouldn't use it on. But anything that's like a static LED wash, like you can use that stuff for it.
Yeah. So you can go with OptiSculpt from Roscoe, and you can definitely get that from Ben Stowe at NFLX, aka not sponsored, but that's okay. Or if you invest into the big daddies, the Astera AX5s, they do have the filters. I can't remember if it came with or I had to buy them separate, but you have your normal LED with no filter on it, or you can get the flood, which just washes the color out further, or you can get the wall washer, which that's the brand, and it does exactly what Brian is doing on his events. Just, I guess, a little bit quicker, just to insert, a little less cutting to do, but again, there is a significant investment into those. I know, like the Chauvet ones from the Freedom Pars, the new ones that they came out with, they have like a filter that goes on top of it. That kind of helps a little bit more, just spread it a little bit more. So you get it a little bit more even wash, but it doesn't do exactly what Brian's doing with the OptiSculpt.
And
filter.
some of the higher end like ADJ lights have it as well, have it as an option. But like, actually we talked about this last week. Like one of the things that I think a lot of people don't even realize is, again, the Chauvet H1s like already have this built into it. Like it's in there. And I think a lot, when you get it, like you don't put it in there, they've already put it in there. I think a lot of people don't realize that it's even there, that it exists. But it's kind of like that like 20-degree kind of filter that I was talking about. It's just something that smooths it out a little bit more, gets rid of some of that ghosting and artifacting around the edge, and creates a better quality of the light coming out of the fixture.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is not like some new like fangled thing. Like stuff like this has existed forever. It's just not something that like is really in the vernacular of like lighting for DJs, but it should be, and it can be. And this is like something that, is a relatively small upfront investment, a couple of hours of work of just measuring and cutting things. And it's infinitely reusable, and
100%.
can totally change your uplighting game.
Yeah. Real quick, because I feel like we're like giving everyone like plus content out there. Every uplight has this in some capacity, either if it's a bracket or a kickstand. Utilizing the kickstand, kind of give us a little like brief summary on how and when to use it.
Yeah. The kickstand. Let me bring back my workout. Bring back my prop here. Like
from episode 2.
Kickstand. Like that's it. Like, now it's angling the light. When would I use the kickstand? Again, we're looking at those big, wide walls, right? Especially like if you have like a couple that is doing, a big head table, like they have a huge wedding party, it's a big head table, and you want to make sure that whole back wall is lit. Like, oh man, I'm going to have to put like 8 uplights out along that wall. Like, no, you could put 4 uplights out along that wall. And literally I will take 2 and I will put them on either end of where the couple's going to be. And I'll put the kickstands up, and boom, now it's doing a nice cross behind them. And then I will take the other two and I will put it at the far ends of the head table, do the same thing, shooting across that wall. And now we've lit up that wall. We've created a visual anchor in the room. So it's like something that's going to draw people's eye. We're going to draw their eyes to the head table, to the couple. And I've gone from needing 8 uplights to light that wall to using 4 uplights to light that wall and adding visual interest rather than the tiger stripe.
Yeah. And you're not actually like, you're using your filters on it. You're not seeing physical beam of like making X's because you're using the OptiSculpt. Good gosh,
Yep.
that's a hard word to say.
And, you know, sometimes, and it depends. I mean, sometimes I'll use it and sometimes I won't, or maybe I'll mix and match it, you know? So like maybe it's, the ones behind the couple, I'm putting the 20 degrees on. So it's a softer cross between them. And then the ones, on the edge, on the table that I'm not putting it on. So then it's creating, again, a little bit more dynamic visual interest between the two lights. But now I've lit up this whole entire wall for half of the lights that most people would normally use for it.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, Brian, this was intense. We've ranted. We've talked about to level up Uplights to a whole new level in great thought processes to really help understand the end results of what we're looking for. Anything else to close us out? I mean, everything that you were saying, I'm either doing or 100% agreeing with you, like on all fronts. There's no real disagreements on a lot of this, but any closing remarks or anything like that?
Change your DMX channels.
Change your DMX channels.
No blinky flashy.
No blinky flashy. Just one tip, but I just do want to throw out there is if you are looking to invest in the RGB A, W plus UV, do understand with hex LEDs, they're not going to be as bright as like RGBA fixture or RGB view fixture. So do keep that in the notes as well. Like it's important to read those, optical specifics that they put on the websites. Like those are really important to look at because, when you're like, oh, it's not bright enough. And, you bought all these uplights. You're like, well, did you read the thing? Because you bought RGBA, like you have every single A, B, C, D, F, G in the freaking fixture. Like it's not going to be as bright. So that is just one thing I would leave you if you're looking to invest. And don't do the blinky one channel thing. Like, come on, we can do better as a whole industry all together, expand our knowledge, take some time to invest, program and cut some OptiSculpt filters from Bensto at NFLX.
Not a sponsor yet.
Yeah, but we're throwing him out there because, you really should support him because he does a lot for not only him, but his whole company as a whole does a lot for this industry. Like they're showing up at every single conference. And again, this is not paid at all. Like this is just off the riff that we're talking about this because
and a lot of the times at their own expense too.
Yes,
like,
100%.
Yep. So
100%. So that's it from us. Again, if you're on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. We're going to build this up. We got so many episodes, like legit. There's so many episodes that we have ready that we want to talk about. So we need your support and make sure that we can continue doing this. And if you're on Apple or Spotify podcasts, definitely tune in, follow us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Peace.
See you soon.
See ya.